Hey, Marc-Antoine.
How are you?
Doing okay. How about you?
I'm fine. Still working on my latest craziness. It's happening slowly, one function at a time. Cleared a few major hurdles, but there's still a lot to go.
I've been noticing over the last several calls, your audio seems to get very faint and then comes back within 30 seconds or a minute.
If I've got unclack going, I can pause it, I guess. Unclack basically
it takes out the keystrokes.
take out the keystrokes.
Yeah, I haven't noticed if it's while you're typing or not. I can let you know.
I suspect that's it. Give me a second. I might be able to demo something for what it's worth, but
cool.
Classes, new classes. Oh yeah, 105. Make tables. Okay, good. So let me show you where I'm at, since it seems it's the two of us. Actually, let's show you. I need to restart this.
Nick K might be joining.
Oh, good. Okay, let me. Hi, Nick. No, came in. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I was gonna send this. Let me send the link to someone else you might want to join.
And I'll wait a bit.
Yeah, I thought we had the link coming out in the notice, but apparently not.
Yeah, I found the iCal. Took me a second, but I got it. Hey, Denz. Denz is also from RU.
Awesome.
Hey.
So Marc-Antoine was just gonna kind of demo something he's working on, but I'm sure he'd be open if anyone has any other topics.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very short demo, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking about what you folks are doing more. This is experiments I'm making with event sourcing and dynamic schemas. So what I have here, this is what I'd like to show. This is my process, and it knows about something. Oh, here's a few event types. And the event types have a very simple schema, as in, we don't know really what's happening. They're kind of generic. Could be a bit better, but that's not really the point. And if I tell the system, oh, by the way, add this schema, and this is basically a JSON LD style schema, in theory, looks good. It should now learn schema items when any of, oops, discriminator. Okay, these are, okay, I should have shown you that part first, but these discriminators are new. So basically the schema has new updated types dynamically. This is Fast API, and the database has new tables for the projections, the projections types that I defined in them, and it's also aware that those projections come from this schema that's ingested in the database. And even if I restart the system now, the schema is now in the database, so that means these types are now part of the system. The create document, create quote, and so on. These are now part of the system. And the next step I'm going to do is to have endpoints for projections. What I'm trying to do here is a kind of universal programmable projection engine, so that you can define, oh, here's my event types, here's my projection types, and here's the handler function that updates the projection given the event. And you can pass the functions code to the system, and you should get this thing updating. Still working on it, still not clear that it'll be doing all the things I expect it to, but I'm really happy already that I can force the server to update. What I intend to do after that is make databases for representation of a very flexible debate protocol. But the point is, anybody can add a higher level. This is this kind of argumentation scheme, and create it as a new projection and a new event, or a new event type, and explain how it affects the argumentation model. So that's what I'm trying to build. Why this is relevant to this conversation here. That's it. I said it would be a very short demo.
We don't have much of a demo. We're trying to, so like the data that exists in the project today, I think is live, but it's plain text, and we're trying to get the formatting from the actual like debate cards to be present inside the data set before we do like a full release. But and we're struggling with that on like multiple levels. We had a verification system. There's some like bizarre bugs that was going on. So let me give a summary of where we got. So since the last couple of weeks, we finished our verification system, so we can verify that a given highlight is actually present in a given source, if that source is PDF or HTML. Our PDF verification system is not on production yet. We have some like issue where it stack overflows. It's really incredibly confusing. There's like no recursion present, and I think it's just like it's putting something on the stack that's just like a regular function parameter that's blowing it. So we're really struggling hard with that. The way we're going to do our verification system is with batches. So like we're moving it off of the primary server into a microservice, so we can finish like verifications and have that working, where like you queue up some number of verifications in like a given time period, and we run the job to actually like go through each piece of each highlight and verify that's actually present in a given source for, again, only HTML and PDF sources. I think that we can handle other file formats like docx, doc, and I don't know, even like JSON maybe, but we haven't built those yet. I'm not sure we're going to. Most of what we have to verify right now is PDF, HTML. So that system is live. The verification route should work. That's in the documentation. Not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that yet. Beyond that, like this past week, we got most of our docs written. So like most of our actual like models are documented. I think it's actually compatible with the system that you just demoed, Mark, because I think that you could take the the things you're parsing, like the things that are part of your schema. And if you want to create embeddings, you could hand those off to a self-hosted version of Vault or a hosted version of Vault, and get embeddings for it, like with cost optimization and full text search and stuff like that, all present built in. But then today we're trying kind of like just totally finish everything to the point where you can re-upload with the feature rich formatting, and we got bonked by OpenAI rate limits. We need to host our own model, but right now we're just like tuning down how fast we parse out data from the documents so that it's more like reasonable for OpenAI. I mean, their recommended solution is like exponential back off. If I was in a Jupyter notebook, which is how I'm sure most of their users are, that'd be easy enough to implement with the Python package. But in our Rust server, it's basically impossible. So we're just like scaling down how many requests we send them.
Interesting. Just out of, are you, if I send you a document, do you treat it in request or do you queue it? Do you have a queue system as a buffer?
So like if you give us a document, we have a relatively naive parsing algorithm. We go through your document and we convert your document to HTML using LibreOffice instead of Pandoc, because
I remember that conversation. Yes.
Yeah, that was like, we gotta write a blog on why we're doing that, because I think it's pretty novel. But we use LibreOffice to convert, and then we go to the HTML document and we look for a header. Once we find a header, we like set a flag to true. Then we look for a link that can either be an anchor tag with a ref, or it could be just any word that starts with HTTP in the document. Once we have a header and a link, we start adding text from the next paragraph onwards to the card up until the point that we hit the next header. Then the data that was present in the combination of header, link, and content gets saved to be a single card, and we proceed on to parse out the next card in the document. This really only works with the documents we're parsing currently from debate students, and it's not a generalizable approach to document parsing. And we're not biting that off currently. It's difficult for us to predict. What I think will happen is that people who want to use Vault like as the API without like us being involved, like self-hosted or like get us to host a version for them, are probably going to want to have their own custom parsing algorithms, and either they could implement that. So like the parsing function is written in Python, and the Rust server calls out to the Python script to actually parse the cards from the document, and that makes it pretty easy. So like the parser is plug and play, meaning you can bring your own parser to Vault and parse documents how you so choose. And we might be able to like add, it's very easy to like add a request parameter to like switch the parser that you pick too. If you want to like handle that on like with your usage of the application, but we're only shipping with a single naive one. We probably might make some other preset ones that you could plug in.
I see. So I think it didn't answer the Q question, but it's certainly worth understanding what's going on there. When you say I can provide my own parser, you mean by changing the code, right? Not as data.
Not as data. We don't change the code. It's like we have like a card parser.py file. You just have to delete that file and put your own.
Yeah, changing the code. It's still qualified as yeah. Makes sense.
I agree. Yeah.
That would be nice to decouple as a service, and that's I haven't been that smart about it in my system, but in Planeminer, what I do is when I get a document, either the file itself or URL of the file. If it's a URL, I create the empty document thing, and I create a task to download it, and then I have a task consumer that, oh, there's a new download. Okay, download. And then it puts it in the database, and then, oh, that means I need to start converting it, like if it's PDF to HTML. I use the Python PDF libraries I don't know if they're better or worse than your approach. It would be interesting to compare. And then I break it up in paragraphs, and then that's another task. I queued that. So it's very pure centric. So that means if I get 5 million tasks, well, they'll just get decured when they get decured. It means it's horrible UX because when you give a task, all you know is, okay, task being encoded, it'll be get done at some point, come back to see where it's at. So that's not good. I need to make it a bit nicer that way. But I think in terms of, because you started with OpenAI being annoyed with the amount of requests, throttling your queue, I think, is very doable. And then it's just you're throttling the call to that function, but the rest of the queue can function and do whatever other intakes consumption it has to do. So I'm not saying my system is perfect, and certainly the ideal would be to have this a bit more microservice, so you could plug and play and say, oh, I want to use that paragraph breaker or that paragraph breaker and see what happens. But I think from an ecosystem point of view, it would be nice to make that a bit more decoupled, independent, and queue event-based. As I said, I'm religious about event streams. That's my personal personal architectural kink.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, so we didn't do a task queue for the exact reason you stated. The original idea of the system was, like, we weren't even going to do document upload originally. It kind of was like scope creep. So the original system, like, what we do is we upload a document, we spin off a thread, and the thread immediately handles it. And we're just using the system scheduler to like handle scheduling those threads.
Okay.
Which means it's like very hard for us to implement throttling on that. We should have a task queue. I agree that we should have a task queue. It's tough because having a task queue would be good in this like one scenario where we're trying to upload like several gigabytes of files. But unless we have like a ton of users, that won't happen in production. So it's kind of like an over optimization for us. Whereas the verification system, even with small amounts of files, like that one is much that one causes problems like at a much lower threshold. So we're doing the verification queue. But yeah, a task queue for the cards definitely makes sense. We just didn't choose that architecture in the beginning, and we might like try to change it.
And I hear you that there's a premature optimization aspect there. But there was a great post by Glyph about, okay, microservices are great for really ridiculously large monolith, but everybody starts with monolith. And what's the right threshold to transform your monolith into microservices? When is big too big, and what is the and you're right. I mean, doing microservices from the start can be a premature organization. It's an interesting, and he's proposing a bisection of monoliths as a way to do incremental. But I don't know if that's not the course I'm going. I'm going very much from event sourcing at the start, but I'm creating a library to make that easier. That's my but I'm not. I understand. It's perfectly valid not to go that route. As you say, you want to create a service first.
Yeah, like we have the service. Like at this point, it's not that complicated to like turn into microservices, kind of like what we were talking about. It's just like a matter of building the queue, which, I mean, I'm not gonna like do Kafka or like something fancy. I'll just put it in Redis for now, and then like handle the queue that way. Which right now we're not even doing Redis. Yeah, like we're doing naive. Like everything's like pretty naive at this stage.
Cool.
Cool. But yeah, we did get docs this week. So like happy we got like docs up for how we need to like make the docs a lot better before it's like really ready to get used. But
so where are the docs? Are they in the AI editor?
No, docs.arguflow.com.
Okay.
We just have the models documented. We don't have like a guide to self-hosting, and Denz did most of that work on the documentation. So like he's in the call. But, but yeah, Dens can speak to some of the debt that we have, some like the tech debt we have in terms of how our models are named, how the API routes like words pick up based on the models,
Yeah,
things of that nature.
yeah. We currently like some of our we kind of like try to get things pushed out as fast as possible. And since different people working on different parts of the API, that meant that like some things are named differently across the API. It's not like the naming scheme is not consistent. So it's kind of confusing. And some response types are also not consistent, which means that like it's kind of hard to predict what's going to come back from an API response. So like there's like a lot of tech debt that we need to solve, but it's like it's not too much to the point like we can get it done like pretty quickly. Like if we just sat down and spent some time refactoring.
Fair enough. Cool. Now, yeah, I think I should read the docs before contributing that much more to the conversation.
They're probably not going to be that helpful yet. Like we don't have like docs for like how it actually works. We just have docs for like the API requests. So like we we did like we're doing docs from like the requests up, meaning that like the next step for us is like the guide to self-hosting, the guide to like how we handle errors, the guide to like understanding the actual control flow of how we like handle data. But we're actively working on it as fast as we can.
Fair enough. I was thinking, yeah, because I'm still, I still stayed with something you said about the Vault adds a level of abstraction over Quadrant, because I was looking at the Vault code base, and that's a very thin layer over Quadrant, right? I know that most of the work you're doing is in the AI editor, if I understand well.
Vault is just a client. Vault doesn't have anything to do with Qt. Vault just calls AI editor.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, Vault, I got that wrong. Fair enough. So AI editor is where the logic is. Fair.
I refer to Vault as like the naming of the repo is really bad, because when I say Vault, I'm meaning like AI editor mostly. Vault is like the name of the repository, but like in my head, Vault describes like the system, which is I think there's like 3 times the amount of code in AI editor than Vault in terms of repository names. So AI editor is most of the Vault system. And like the abstraction that it has over Qdrant is a lot of cost optimization. So like if you, a lot of times users from like what we've seen in terms of evidence, people want to cite like the same evidence, but they want to create different cuts. So like, you may have like the same 3 paragraphs, but you want to emphasize different parts of the 3 paragraphs. And you don't want to make an embedding for both of those. They basically mean the same thing. So you want to like catch that it's a collision and then avoid calling out to OpenAI or like your own model, so you don't waste money on making the embedding. And we handle that. So like we handle detecting the collision, but not calling OpenAI. And like other things we handle is like full text search. So like we implemented the whole Postgres search engine thing.
Yeah, so that's something I also have in Plain Minor, of course, the Postgres text search engine. I'm a bit curious. If there's a collision, it's because there's 2 overlapping quotes. Shouldn't you send to OpenAI because they're not exactly the same? Isn't that the case? When you say they're different cuts, I assume that the quote are overlapping but not identical. Or is that assumption wrong?
So like when you make the embedding is not substantially different, even with the formatting information. Like the model that OpenAI trains just doesn't handle that. So like even if you bold and like highlight certain things, it won't change. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So somebody makes another quote with different formatting of the same text, run. Is that the use case?
Yeah, exactly. So like you have like yeah, exactly. So like it's kind of like 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 journalists when they do an interview, like they do the ellipses
to like cut out the things that are inconvenient.
I was going to
or, like,
ask if the verification handles ellipses.
yeah, we don't. It's like we don't allow you to do that. So the way
Oh.
that academic debate solves that is by making you like change text size or like bold and highlight. That way, all of the original content is still present. And we take that approach. So we don't allow you to do ellipses and stuff. You have to, if you want to like make a manipulative or like spin on the evidence, maybe it's not a spin or manipulation, but you just want to like emphasize things in the most charitable way of describing that. You can only do that by preserving all the text. You can bold, change font size, highlight, etc., but you can't change the text.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. This did not come up to me as a use case, and it does make sense. I see it now. I was expecting people to take different spans of text, and open annotation allows you to have a quote that is more than one span. That means, you can have, this part of the sentence, another part of the sentence, and there's an implied ellipsis in between. And that's considered a valid target in the open annotation standard.
Yeah, we don't like support. So like, I think the open annotation standard is bad. The academic debate community thinks it's bad.
Interesting.
It's like probably just like a hot take of, I don't know. Like, I think journalists are not going to like using the service. It's not designed for them quite. So I'm kind of like, we went with the academic debate style citation standard instead of the, journalistic one, which is a design decision. But it's also like a practical decision. You actually like trying to handle verifications with people that are doing like open citation standard citations is difficult, very difficult.
I hear you. It's a hard problem, and it makes sense to me that you'd want to allow people to pick out different text. I wouldn't do it like, for me, the visual text indicators are meaningless. For me, that's totally. I'm not saying you're wrong to do that. Actually, you're probably more right than I am. But it would not occur to me to make those significant. What I would tend to allow, however, is ellipsis as a style. Say, here's the full text, but make this sub passage invisible, and that's a style, and replaced by an ellipsis, and that's a style.
Yeah, you can have like different pairs. So, like if you have a full text, you can only cite one paragraph if you want. Like, and that we can validate that as being present in the original text. You just can't validate one paragraph, skip two, and then evaluate the fourth in the same card. Like you can't. So we support ellipses across cards, but not intra card. So inter card you can have ellipses, but not intra card.
Interesting.
Which is, I don't know, it's the way academic debate has handled this for the past like 30, 40 years or so. I tend to think that that's probably correct, but
well, you keep referring to academic debate. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Not the debate that happens in academic papers, because they happily condense references.
I'm referring to like a competitive,
Yeah,
which
I thought
yeah,
that was it. Yeah,
competitive debate, not academia related.
not academic
debate.
practice, but the competitive academic debate, which has its own standards. Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I'm building off of those because like I tend to think that there's like some wisdom in adapting their system since it's pretty tested.
right. I must say I come from the conversation mapping, which has taken a very different take on this, which has been tested in another sociological contest. I think I must say I don't know if you've met Jack Park.
Yeah, I think he might have been in one of the other meetings. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he was. I'm working a lot with Jack Park, and we come from data also. Sometimes I'm a bit loose with language, and I say, oh, debate, conversation, yada, argumentation. And he's extremely, no, don't use these interchangeably, because debates are very much win-lose, trying to score points, and hence very aggressive, and conversations are about finding common ground and consensus. And it's a very different dynamic, and we're definitely trying to do the latter. So I must say I have de-emphasized debate in my research.
Yeah, we are for sure trying to emphasize it. So like we're
yeah,
trying.
that's
yeah.
It's different. Different starting points lead to different use cases and user stories, and I don't let me be real. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think ideally I want to work on an ecosystem that can handle different styles of interaction, including debate, including more consensus seeking, including many. It should be style agnostic. And as I said, I've de-emphasized debate, and there's things you're telling me that, oh, I didn't think about this because I wasn't thinking from that standpoint, and that's good. It's richer if we can handle more use cases. This is not about saying, oh, this is wrong. This is about saying, oh, I want more than that. But it's interesting to understand your use case. Certainly,
Yeah, I mean,
journalistic quotes is something I also want to support somehow, because
yeah, so like our goal is for AI editor like system level to support both, and for there to be an application level beyond that handles like our use case and handles other use cases. But
Yep.
we would like to make it as easy as possible to implement both, so that people who use AI editor, like the whole Vault system, to solve these problems are able to take their own perspectives and takes without us getting in the way of that. So that's part of our goal. So we're not we're not trying to be like overbearing and enforce our debate style approach onto AI editor. We're actually trying to do the reverse and like try to take our spin off of AI editor and make it more viable for general use.
Right. Excellent. I think I'm trying to think what's the next step for us. Okay, I need to understand better the thing. Maybe we need to prepare a demo, and I think Jamie should see it, because that's, I think, one use case that Jamie should see what you're doing, because it's relevant. I need to better understand what you're adding, but today was helpful. It helped me understand what you're adding to Bear Quadrant. And I've been adding other stuff, and where are we going from there? I'm going to actually spend energy on open sourcing Claim Miner, which does part of what you're doing and part differently, and part, totally different approach to overlapping but not identical. Which, by the way, I do, and I'll open source it. I'll probably, in a way, kill that project in the sense that I want to rewrite it based on this event thing I'm showing you for reasons, because flexibility and being less religious about what are the units of conversation. I want to be extremely open about units of conversation. That's a central concern for me.
Yeah. I think like the steps that I want is I would like to figure out on a lower level what Plain Miner does that AI editor doesn't do, what like the event sourcing
Vice
thing does
versa.
that AI editor
Yeah.
doesn't currently do, and then vice versa, and then try to yeah, I am biased adding features to AI editor, but
Of course.
I'm not dead set on that. If there's
I'm not. I
yeah.
don't think Claim Miner is. I'm certainly not proposing rebasing work on Claim Miner. I think there's a few ideas there worth lifting. Maybe not even. I don't know. We'll see. I'm certainly not going to be pushing that. I'm one person. I've done what I could in a certain amount of time. You're a team. You've spent more time than I have. Of course, you're further along. It's clear. Where I have spent a ridiculous amount of time is thinking about on the one hand, conversation modeling, and on the other hand, how to materialize the bloody conversation modeling in a way that's not too rigid. And this is, maybe it will be worth thinking about using the event sourcing stuff I'm doing or not. But what I'm trying to do now is have a prototype running, not because it's going to be that solid to start with, but because it shows why I'm trying to do that. I hope to show why I'm trying to do that and why I think it's important. That's work in progress for me, making it clear what my event sourcing approach allows that would not be so simple otherwise, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, you put a lot more thought into that than we have, and I don't think that AI editor handles that well currently. I'm not even quite sure of like the lower level details of what you're doing to speculate on what has to change for it to handle it, but I would like for it to handle it, because it sounds like I have some faith that you have thought about it in a lot of depth and that your ideas probably do make sense. And based on that faith, I would like to figure out what it takes on a lower level to implement it in AI editor. Because like AI editors in Rust, I don't know how valuable like Rust actually is, but if you believe like some of the hype, which I'm not sure I do, and Zell over there believes a lot more of the hype, we should be able to make findings to like any other systems. Like if it's in Python, yeah.
It's very amusing because I was like, oh, should I use a more static language for this thing? Because I want to go towards Rust for some components. And then I realized Rust was so against the purpose of what I'm building, because what I'm building is something where I can declaratively say, oh, here's a new type, and here's how this new type is used in the whole thing. So I need dynamicism so badly, and this is why I went back to Python, also because Python's my comfort zone. But I realized that a language that's smart about types is exactly not what I need for this first layer, for the first experiment. Now, I do hope to replace parts of it progressively with more type smart languages, but I think there's a part of it that will always be has to remain in the dynamic language, I suspect.
Yeah, I mean, our system is a combination of Rust, Python, and Node. Like we've already realized that. There are certain things in our system that we can't build with Rust that we already have Node for. Like the parser is in Python for a reason. The verification system is in Python for a reason. Like we're not maximalists. We are
excellent. Yeah. They're good. Good to hear. And I am maximalist about many things, but certainly not language. It's just Python's my comfort zone. What can I say? But yeah, some parts of it I think have to be Python. But I hope I hope the whole thing won't stay Python, because I don't think that's healthy. It should be a bit more.
Yeah, like when you look at some of the stuff going on with the concurrency in the system at this point, there was like some stuff that would have been near impossible to get right with Python in terms of like creating a good UX. But we're accepting of that. Like I have been upset with Rust for the past like week. I wish we did Go, but Zell tells me to hold a course and continue on with Rust, which is fine. But like doing Python on like a more detailed level, like so right now we're just calling out to Python scripts using like commands, like OS level commands. We can make bindings and do that in a more productive way. And we are like, again, open to doing that. Like it's the whole idea of making the thing open source. So we're trying to like, you know, we'd like to get something that is better for more use cases. And we're interested to get like more people in the active community that I think this can help to use it. And like, again, it's designed to be self-hosted. Like we're not designing this to be like a managed system. It's designed to be like self-hosted alongside your product. And if you would like to, and you don't want to deal with hosting it yourself, then maybe it makes sense to like pay us to host it for you, but it probably doesn't.
What I hope is that there's a point where I think we'll want self-hosted no matter what, but certainly there's a lot of co-design we can do, and then what will the money story be? But hopefully it ends up being improvements for everybody. My approach has always been make things that talk together so that whatever I do to improve gives you value, and whatever you do to improve gives me value. And
Yeah,
we
that's
can
what we're trying
sell,
to do.
and we can sell very versatile solutions, because hey, if you're buying into my solution, you're buying into an ecosystem of solutions that work together. That's
Like the whole
that's my goal.
point. Yeah, like we have the same goal in that regard. So I want to figure out how we can like collaborate, because the system is like in a mature state at this point where it's like still
and
alpha.
I need to understand it better. Let me read through the documentation. As I said, next week I hope to have more precise questions. I think we may have done what we needed for today. Next week I'll probably make sure you have claim miner docs and source in your hands, and I'll have my demo will be a bit further along, and for the event sourcing part, and let's see what's the next step. And you can have a demo, and maybe we can try to get Jamie to see it, see if she sees the point. But maybe I should see the demo first and make sure that it's at a level that speaks to her.
Yeah, we're demoing it on Monday for Futo, Monday morning. So like,
show me, send me, put that event on the Hangout channel.
Okay, yeah, let me make sure it's okay with Futo, and then I'll
if it's okay, sure, of course.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's meant to be like an open thing, but I was more just saying like,
and then
yeah, we'll have the demo like ready by Monday morning. We are currently like I said, we're currently like, you can go to vault.arguflow.com right now and play with it. But we're currently like fixing the formatting of the cards so that that is feature rich in terms of the syntax. Because like right now you're getting a very user experience because there's no syntax highlighting, and we're doing the syntax highlight right now. Like as we speak, the script is running. So by Monday morning, like that should be done. It's probably going to take like 48, 72 hours here. And then we're going to write like some docs on like what we're doing, add like the control flow to the docs that exist, write some blogs on like how this whole thing works, and hopefully it'll be good next week.
By the way, I wanted to show Vault to Jamie, and then we got into, oh, where's the login button? There's just the register button, and the error.
Yeah, Denz and Denzel have both gotten on me about that. I went with like the whole new style approach of like you don't do the login button, you only do register, and then but Denz and Denzel have both been like, it's so annoying, we need login, so we're gonna add login.
Please.
Yeah.
Unless you can detect the existence of past credentials, but that's not a given. Somebody can come from a new browser or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, we have to add it. It's open source. You can see when we add it. It's an open issue on the repo already, I believe.
Okay, good. Okay, any other item on the agenda? I think we're having this conversation, but Bentley, do you have anything new? Nope. Okay.
I'm too busy working on Airtable's OAuth deadline
Okay.
at the end of this month.
Cool. And I'm busy working with my little toy, so let's adjourn till next week.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for showing up.
You work on Airtable, Bentley?
Yeah, my day job, it's integrating Miro and Airtable for a Fortune 100 company.
Oh, that's awesome. Miro and Airtable are both on our list of like integration candidates for
Yeah, I have tons of experience. So yeah, anytime you want, hit me up, and happy to go over my technical debt.
Yeah, for sure. That's
All I've been doing this week is hacking stuff together, going to do, we do this, to do, we do this.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get in touch. I think that we're gonna try to put up some work for doing integration soon.
Yeah, awesome. All right, bye everybody.
Bye guys.
Ciao, ciao.